Teoscar Hernandez has been traded by the Toronto Blue Jays, and he's the first major domino to fall in what's going to be a crazy offseason for the boys. So you won't want to miss this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside co-host Nick Gosse. Got a lot to get into today, but first I want to thank you for helping us hit 2,000 subscribers. An unbelievable ride. We're on the road to 3K now, and before we get into the video, we want to thank Teoscar Hernandez for his amazing years as a Toronto Blue Jay. Gave us all some great memories, a fan favorite, a clubhouse favorite, and provided us with some electric home runs in the wild card game. And then he ends up joining that team that he torched. So thanks, Teo, for everything that you did for the Jays, and we'll definitely miss you around here.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable, both on and off the field. Again, thank you guys for the support recently. And quick reminder, 84.9% of you guys who are watching right now are not subscribed. So I've only touched on this briefly, but make sure you hit the subscribe button if you enjoy the daily content. But yeah, shout out to Teoscar Hernandez. It will be interesting seeing him in a Mariners uniform. But let's just get right into what happened today, because it was a crazy day. We were both, at work or at school, and breaking, Jeff Passan dropped a bomb. All-star outfielder Teoscar Hernandez has been traded to the Seattle Mariners from the Blue Jays. Sources familiar tell ESPN. And when that happened, Twitter went crazy. The Digest Discord, people in there were going crazy because no one knew what the return could be. There was a report I think it was a few days ago, we didn't get to make a video on it, but about Teoscar for Chris Flexen. People were saying they don't want that to happen. And then it took like 35 minutes. Finally, the return was named. Heading back to Toronto in exchange for Teoscar Hernandez, a right-handed reliever, Erik Swanson, and left-handed starter Adam Macko. Swanson had a 1.68 ERA last year, while Macko was in high A. Hernandez is a free agent after the 2023 season, which is after this coming one. So, Peter, I'll get your quick initial thoughts, and we're going to break down both players in return that the Jays got, and we'll talk about what it could potentially mean for the future. But let's just get your initial opinions and thoughts on this trade.
Okay, so first let's try to digest this trade. Let's try to take it all in, soak it in. I know it's tough. Teo was a fan favorite. He gave us some great memories over the years, and he's an elite player. He's an elite player. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I like this move for a couple of reasons. Now, the first reason, you get a reliever who's very dominant with control. So you have Erik Swanson, who's in the prime of his career, 29 years old, for at least 3 more seasons. That's encouraging. And Adam Macko was the 8th ranked prospect for the Seattle Mariners and is now the Blue Jays' 8th ranked prospect. So a little bit of a switcheroo over there. And Adam Macko is a left-handed pitcher, starting pitcher, who has a lot of strikeout stuff. I believe 60 strikeouts in 38 innings in high A this year.
Yep.
So he's got electric potential, and it frees up some cap space that'll allow Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro to make some real moves on the free agent market.
Yeah, I had a lot of fans out there on Twitter and even in our Discord were saying that's not enough for Teo. They were shocked. Initially, I was a bit surprised. Honestly, I was more surprised that he got traded as opposed to the return itself. But yeah, it frees up a lot of space. And Ross Atkins had an interview, or I guess a presser, just a couple hours ago, and he touched on that. He basically said that it frees up a lot of space, and I guess the negotiations clearly weren't there for long-term contracts. So I'll bring up a quick screenshot here. This is Erik Swanson's Baseball Savant page. Essentially, if you're not familiar, obviously the higher the number, the better. So he is basically elite in most of the major categories you want for a reliever. He has a 34% K rate, a low walk rate. He's only 29, just getting into the prime of his career. And he will be a really important piece for the Jays this next season. And it solidifies the bullpen. And like you said, the prospect, he's looking really good. We'll get into him a bit more in a minute. But overall, yeah, I had a similar reaction to you. It was I was shocked that we traded him. I don't know.
Yeah,
It was go ahead, especially with the Mariners, nonetheless.
it hurts. It hurts at first because the last memory that we have of Teoscar Hernandez is his 2 home run game in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series, and he was probably the one of the only players that showed up in that series, and he really had some great moments in Toronto. But the fact of the matter was that they weren't going to be able to pay him, and they're prioritizing paying Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Alek Manoah, which they should be doing. And now um, there was all this talk about them trading their catchers, right? Now they trade from a position where they don't have many options after designating Raimel Tapia for assignment. So now you create a hole, which leads you to believe that there's another move that's in place because you only have two starting caliber outfielders right now.
Yeah, and just a sneak peek, if you guys are making it this far, we will have a video touching on that tomorrow. It'll be a bit of a, kind of furthering up on the trade a little bit, but yeah, it's very interesting, and I definitely, people on Twitter were also saying that, maybe trading one of the catchers now is even more likely to fill up the position that they traded from, which, we'll get into all the rumors as they come out. But yeah, overall, kind of a crazy deal. I do want to pop up this screenshot as well. We have a couple more. This is from Mitch Bannon saying, like you said, the Blue Jays had to clear significant money to shop in the top tier of the free agent market this offseason. Trading Teo for Swanson and a prospect does exactly that. Beyond the names going back and forth, this opens things up for another move. So this is, again, it's kind of alluding to our video that may be coming out tomorrow, but it opens up a lot of free space, and you have to believe we're going to make a big splash in the free agency market. Maybe the free agency splash is an outfielder, maybe it isn't. Maybe we trade for an outfielder, but it's exciting. It's also really, really sad that the last memory of Teo was the 2 home runs and then him watching us get destroyed from the outfield.
Yeah, and another thing that this tells me is that it's inevitable that George Springer is going to play right field next year. So yeah, you create a hole in right field, and that gets filled in by George Springer, and then you have a hole in center field. And there are a lot of free agents on the market, a lot of left-handed hitting outfielders on the market. We have a couple names in mind that we'll touch on in a future video, but I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter up until this point. But yeah, there are definitely options that the Blue Jays have now, and options that are not only like short term but long term. And I'll tell you this about the Teoscar trade. It just shows that Blue Jays they're really trying to extend their window of contention. So yes, you trade Teoscar Hernandez, who's going to be a free agent next off season, but you're essentially extending your window to compete for a World Series championship, and that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Teo clearly, if they could have extended him last year or the year before for 3 or 4 years, I'm sure they would have if they could have agreed to something. But he was going to be a free agent. He was probably going to walk, and he's not starting to age, but I don't know. I could see some regression. I'm not necessarily me, but people on Twitter were saying they could see some regression at Teo. I would not be surprised if he goes to the Mariners and absolutely tears up and goes back to the way he's been hitting. Yeah, I think so too. But people on Twitter were saying that he might regress. I don't know if that'll happen, maybe to a degree. But regardless, I'm encouraged by the fact that Ross Atkins is making moves because things needed to change. We weren't going to win a World Series with the exact same roster we had last year. So making moves is a good thing. I have a couple more screenshots to pop up. We'll pop up this one, which is a pretty... this is from Baseball Trade Values, the same account we use to use our trade machine. They said, today the Mariners acquired Teoscar Hernandez with an 8.4 M median trade value from the Blue Jays in exchange for Swanson and Macko, which equals up to around 15.8. That means, essentially by their model, the deal is rejected by our model as an overpay from Seattle by basically double. So if you guys put any, now this model includes, the term and all that stuff. So for everyone out there saying the Jays overpaid, according to this model, Seattle overpaid. But I think that has more to do with the term, with only 1 year on the contract left, which is something you guys, all you Jays fans out there needed to keep in mind, is that he's only had 1 year left. We weren't going to get a major haul for him anyways. So this was, if you're going to trade him, I think we did about as good as we could have.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, I don't know how much I buy into that. And I just think this was the right move to make. And it hurts. It really does hurt in the moment. And I don't think, look, this is how I'll put it. If the Jays don't make another move and add another outfielder, then the move is a failure. It's a failure because yes, you address one need, you just created a massive hole somewhere else, and you're asking Whit Merrifield to be your everyday left fielder, and that doesn't address a need either. It's a guy with no power and a guy who hits from the right side. So I mean, you can't you can't have it both ways. Yeah, you give up something, but you got to go get something in return. And I think Ross Atkins is going to be aggressive now with the little financial leeway that he's created.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. And the big thing here is that just yesterday we cut Zimmer, we cut Tapia, followed by the next day trading away one of our outfielders. So you have to suspect one way or another Ross Atkins has something up his sleeve, whether it's a free agent or a trade. And if that's the case, then I like it. We did get an elite bullpen arm back. He had a great year last year. The year before, he had a solid year. So it's looking up. His Baseball Savant page looks up. And we'll be talking about Swanson a lot more in the future as well. But he's an exciting piece. Our bullpen work is not done, but this is definitely a good start. And
And
yeah,
Macko too, great addition.
yeah,
I think he's
I
got
agree.
some potential. And another thing with Macko, he's got some Canadian ties too. So yes, he's been pretty much all over the map. He's a worldwide type of pitcher. He's born in Slovakia. He grew up in Ireland. I found that like super unique. And he went to high school in Alberta, Vauxhall Academy, I think,
Yeah, it was one
which
of
is a
those. Yeah.
prep baseball program and a very good program. So that's cool. That's cool that he's back home in a
Yeah,
sense.
I should have touched on that a bit more. Yeah, Macko, he's don't leave him out because in a couple of years, maybe sooner than later, he'll be elite.
Yeah.
And these are speaking of Macko. Here a quick look at his stats if you guys haven't seen him. He obviously had a bit of a rough stint in foul there, but for A plus, look at that Ks per nine. That's what we're looking at right now. 14.1 in 2022, 15.1 in 2021. He has the stuff. Get him with our pitching staff, and he has the potential to turn into a solid middle rotation starter or maybe a reliever. Who knows? But unbelievable day, and it's gonna get better from here. The offseason's just getting started, and again, it's been unbelievable. And it's also been unbelievable the support we're getting. So thank you guys so much for that. We're close to 2,500, so make sure to hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying the video. And do you have anything else to say about anything, Peter?
No, I think that's it. That covers it. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.